Look, here's a hard truth. Your AI is only as smart as your sloppiest field of data. One duplicated customer record, one missing zip code, one quick workaround made in 2014, and suddenly your AI is confidently wrong everywhere. Today, we're unpacking why banks struggle to trust their own data and how to finally fix it. I'm Diana Rothfuss, and this is Brewing Curiosity, Banking Unfiltered. Welcome back, everyone. In episode 1, we took a step back and looked at the big picture, where banking is headed with data and AI, and why so many leaders are feeling both urgency and uncertainty at the same time. And while we landed on something foundational, AI doesn't scale on hype, it scales on data and trust. Which brings us to our conversation today, episode 2. Where we're diving into what I'll call the unsexy truth behind most AI roadblocks, dirty data, or what I also like to call the data debacle. Today's question is simple, and it's the one every bank eventually has to answer. Do you actually understand your data well enough to trust it? To unpack this, I'm joined by 2 expert fraud fighters and some of my colleagues who spend their lives in the real-world messiness of bank data, Thomas French and Chris McHargue. Tom, Chris, thank you for being here.
Excited to be here, Diana. And before we get started, I just want to do a quick shout out to you being recognized and quoted in, golly, 3, 4, 5 different articles here in the last several months. And Chris,
Thanks.
I saw on LinkedIn, you had a post that went viral and tens of thousands of impressions. So congratulations.
Thanks, Diana. Yeah, likewise, it's the unsexy truth. It is a thing.
Well, thank you guys for both joining me. And Tom, I also have to shout out Fraud Fight Club. I mean, that's pretty amazing. That's really taken off over the last couple of years.
It really has.
Yeah, so congratulations on that. Looking forward to hearing more of your perspective, and Chris, yours as well. And like I said, 2 of my favorite fraud fighters. We've known each other for a while, so I'm really excited about this conversation today. So let's just dive right in. Tom, let's level set a little bit. People throw around the phrase dirty data. What is it really, and how do banks show up? How does it show up inside banks?
So quick definition, dirty data. It's basically data you cannot rely on. It's inaccurate, it's incomplete, it's inconsistent, or formatted incorrectly. So it becomes unreliable for analysis, unreliable for decision making. And it's not always some dramatic failure. It's often small things. It can be a duplicate, misspellings, or some sort of outdated field, or conflicting versions of the same customer, like marketing has their version and risk has their version. And a missing field that someone has used as a workaround. And those small things pile up year over year over year. And suddenly, your analytics, decisions, customer experiences, they all drift away from reality.
No, I mean, I think that's correct. So it's not just a data quality problem, it's become a decision quality problem as well, right?
Exactly. I mean, old school, garbage in, garbage out. And in banking, consequences are immediate, right? So false positives, friction that's unnecessary, customer dissatisfaction that it can lead to, incorrect or wrong offers and rejected applications for credit cards or a new account. Slower response times, all of it. Even account maintenance, when it gets messy, the foundation is just off.
Well, and I couldn't agree with you more. And, you know, Chris, you've said something that I love, and it's really just stuck with me, that there's a janitor tax in banking. Can you dive in and explain that a little bit to me?
Yeah, certainly. So janitor tax, a lot of organizations are spending so much time and resources on getting the data right that they're not able to move forward when the data is cleaned up, right? So there's no innovation behind the work that they're doing. It's just the day to day, and it drags down the transformation that the organizations needing to do with the modern ambitions of AI and dealing with the technology debt that most financial organizations have. To say it differently, I come from a technical place, right? So you're running 2026 agentic AI models on 1990 data architecture, and it just simply is not going to work.
Well, and I think that kind of dives into where I'd love to go next. And let's go straight to one of the, what I would think is the biggest myths on the market is more data means better AI. True, false, or it depends. What do you think?
It's mostly misleading. I think the fact that the more data you have, everybody's just assuming it's clean, it's relevant, and it's high quality. As Tom said, garbage in, garbage out, it still applies. Now that we have AIs at scale and the output is faster, more confident, and running at a higher volume, there's a paradox, right? AI is hungry for data, but if we feed it dirty data, it's just going to accelerate the mistakes that we see across organizations.
Okay, so really we've moved from oops, a mistake to oops, a mistake everywhere.
That's exactly right. And you got to think about reputation and trust, right? They're fragile. And when mistakes happen due to that dirty underlying data, customer experience as the bank being careless or inconsistent, it's just not a good look.
Okay, so looking at this, let's make this concrete. Where do you see dirty data show up most painfully in banking?
Well, it's all over, but a few places show up again and again, right? So I ran a credit card origination center, and that can become a hot mess, especially when marketing solicitations, get sent out, and we've got flawed or mismatched information that comes back on the customer. That's one mess. I've been through 30 plus conversions in my career. Conversions can be even a hotter mess if you're migrating or merging systems with different formats or decades of history, and inconsistencies just explode when they get put into production. And then there's this one idea of one big siloed truth, right? Marketing has a view of customer A that might look very different than the risk department's customer A, right? So your accurate picture of the customer becomes a set of complicated and competing stories.
Well, and that definitely impacts everything. When you think of fraud detection, application approvals, the right offer, the wrong offer. Again, like we say, garbage in, garbage out. I love that. I think that's going to stick with me.
Well, and the worst part of it is it's often invisible until something breaks.
Yeah, I don't think it's always malicious. Sometimes it's a human factor, right? Loan officers need to get loans out quicker. So sometimes they're using workarounds that have always worked in the past. We're always trying to find ways to get to the end faster. And sometimes that's just by putting in bad data. They don't understand the semantic problems that is going to come out in years later.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that we're really talking about it's operational reality, human systems, handoffs, and time to pressure. So now let's go into one of the things that everybody loves to talk about right now, right? Let's bring in GenAI into the story, because this is where things get what I would consider more urgent, right? Your notes make a point I love. A bot is just an interface on top of data. So what happens when the data underneath is dirty?
So if the data is good, you get value, right? If the data is dirty or bad, you get confident nonsense. That's where hallucinations can happen.
Yeah.
In compliance, risk is introduced. You've also got false positive. And here's the kicker: the agent or the AI learns what good looks like from other data. And if you ground the truth is off, your Gen AI output is off as well.
Okay. Can you give us an example of what you just described?
So the easiest one I can think of is zip codes, right? U.S. Postal Service has, their 6+4. We've had them for decades and still can't get them right. How many times are you asked, use the address you entered or suggested an address? That's not just about helping the United States Postal Service find your house. It's data cleanup in real time, and it gets worse in AI. So, for example, Gillette Stadium zip code is 02035. Some systems drop the leading zero and just turn it into 2035. Then you get the zip +4 complexity, different validation rules altogether, and it becomes a chaos at scale when you're looking at a large portfolio. And the only way to keep that straight Consistency is to ground the agent or the Gen AI. For example, using RAG, the retrieval augmented generation, against a trusted source like the United States Postal Service.
Okay, so grounding isn't just what I would say a nice to have, right? It's the difference between accuracy and hallucinations.
Exactly. Again, dirty data in, dirty answers out, right? And now you've got regulatory headaches on top of that and all the operational noise that comes with it.
Well, and I like that you brought that up. So as we're looking at all this technology, let's just take it one step further, because you also talk about the next wave, agents talking to agents. Chris, what do you think?
This is my favorite topic, to be honest with you, just because I'm an agent guy. I think there's going to be a lot of value in the industry that agents will be brought down to the consumer. People are already starting to talk about having their Amazon agent, right? And so my shopping agent is now going to be talking to an Amazon agent, and they're going to go figure out the best price and what's good for me. That's kind of scary because I was never involved in a conversation. In finance, we're going to have agents that are going to start trading and borrowing and spending because humans cannot possibly take the data and ingest it fast enough. And then on the dark side, and this is already happening, there are models out there tuned on leaked data and the breaches that are they're just taking place, right? There's fraud agents. These fraud agents are fairly easy to find. You can find them on different places on the web, but they're simulating banking, going through banking systems and creating new applications and transactions and synthetic IDs. They're doing it at a rate that which we have never, ever seen before, and it's only going to go up. So that means we need to start detecting this stuff a lot faster. Creates a governance gap, right? Because in an ecosystem, we don't really know who's configured the agent. Is it a good agent? Is it a bad agent? I think one of the newer terms, I love this term, is know your agent. I come from the KYC and the sanctions world and fraud. Do you really know your agent? I mean, do you? Will Amazon? Will Google? How do we know that it's an agent? We'll have to figure out how to verify. By acting and the flow and the validating, much like we validate our identity, we're going to have to validate our agents as well.
I love that you said know your agent. Also, I remember the days of introducing KYC when, the understanding know your customer was terrifying. Now it's know your agent is terrifying. So again, those insights are both fascinating and slightly terrifying.
Yep, it's real, but we don't need to panic. Preparation starts with data that you can trust. Once you start the data, then we can grow from there.
Okay. So let's land this in a practical place, because this topic can feel a little overwhelming for people, especially as we're looking to how to expand in AI. Especially where to start, right? So what are the baby steps? Can you give me that version of it? And how does a bank start improving trust without boiling the ocean?
So I'll take that one. You start with one domain, right? One place where dirty data creates pain, right? Fraud, onboarding, marketing, lending. Pick one. Then ask, what's our most important source of truth? Who owns it? Where does it break? And remember, governance has to be a culture, not just a committee. Ownership and accountability, they actually matter a lot.
Yeah. Fix what's visible first, right? The one point of you have silos. I thought we were going to go throughout the entire day without saying silo or boiling oceans, but I guess we didn't. So we'll talk about the zip code. Perfect example. It's tiny, it's common, it's been around forever. It doesn't just hurt banking, it hurt a lot of different organizations, and it comes down to data quality improvements and making it tangible and repeatable. And then it stops feeling scary and it feels like you're making progress.
Well, this has been such a great conversation. Tom and Chris, thank you guys both for joining me today. And I'm looking forward to future conversations with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, today's conversation is a perfect setup for where we're going to go next. Episode 3 is our natural next chapter about trustworthy AI, as we just finished on governance and what that means. Because once you start improving the foundation, questions start to arise. How do you govern your data? How do you monitor it? And how do you explain decisions, especially as automation increases? If you enjoyed today's conversation, give us a like and subscribe to the SAS YouTube channel and click that bell so you'll be notified for future episodes. For SAS, I'm Diana Rothfuss. Stay curious.